Hey guys, I'm Alex, and I think we can all agree that one of the best parts of the Pokemon Anime Advanced Generation saga was that Ash took on the battle frontier, challenging super strong opponents while rotating his old Pokemon. However, this did not happen again in the Diamond and Pearl series of the anime. I mean, it makes sense why it didn't, like, it would be weird if Diamond and Pearl didn't end with Ash beating Paul, but I think it's still fun to theorize what it could have been like if Ash did take on the Sinnoh battle frontier. So that's what I'm going over in today's video. For whatever reason, Ash, Dawn, and Brock all stay in Sinnoh and travel around doing the battle frontier. This version of the Sinnoh battle frontier will be kind of similar to the animes in that it'll be all over Sinnoh, but I also want it to be kind of similar to the games. There will still be the same challenges as the game battle frontier, and Ash will have to battle multiple trainers in a row before battling the Frontier Brain. Think of each battle facility being like a two-parter, the first part being the introduction in the first couple battles, and the second episode being the final battle against the Frontier Brain. Pretty much every Frontier Brain battle will be a 3v3 unless I otherwise specify. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. So to start this off, let's imagine a scenario where Ash and his friends are on their way to the Battle Castle where they run into Caitlin. And basically, this is the trope which happens a lot of times where Ash meets the gym leader or whatever. Before the gym battle, they become friends, and oh no, she's the gym leader. Except this time, she's the Frontier Brain. Basically, the gang would run into her, they'd become friends, until suddenly Durock comes running over and is worried about her safety because it's his duty to protect her, basically. So he's kind of suspicious of Ash and his friends until they introduce themselves, and he realizes they're all good. He then announces that Caitlin is the Frontier Brain to all of their surprise, and they all head to the Battle Castle to take on the challenge. So here's what the rules of the Battle Castle will be like in the anime. Ash has to get through 14 battles while rotating his team against random NPCs. And yes, he can rotate his team, so in one battle he might use Bayleef, in the next battle he'll use Torkoal. So he'll go through these 14 battles. As he progresses, he earns Castle Points, which he can use to buy held items. This is Ash's first exposure to held items, and it will help him learn about how these items can help in his battles. The episode will spend some time cutting between random battles, showing Ash knocking out random Pokemon with his Pokemon. One battle that we'll pause on is his Torkoal. Torkoal gets hit straight with a Hydro Pump, but is totally fine when they reveal that Ash bought a Pasho Berry using his Castle Points, which lowers the effectiveness of Water-type moves. Eventually, Ash gets through all the battles and ends up facing the Frontier Brain, who he expects to be Caitlin until it's revealed that Durock is actually battling in her place. Ash sends out Kingler and Durock sends out Staraptor. Kingler's doing some really good damage with a boosted power Crabhammer due to the health items that Ash equipped. However, Kingler is locked into Crabhammer and it's not doing too much damage, so Ash decides to swap out and bring in Muck. Ash remembers back at the Sinnoh League the strategy that Paul used against his Staraptor with Gastrodon basically covering its body and not letting it move. So Muck uses that same strategy, and with that, it basically suffocates Staraptor and defeats it. Durock sends out his Empoleon next, and while it uses attacks like Metal Claw, Muck tries to absorb them, and while it's doing decent, it's still taking some damage, and it's also having a hard time attacking back because its poison type moves do no damage and its normal type moves don't do much damage at all. In the end, Muck is defeated. Ash sends Kingler back out. Some super powerful Crabhammers mixed with some super powerful Metal Claws, and in the end, it's a tie. Finally, it's Snorlax versus Gallade. Snorlax is able to keep healing itself using its leftovers, making itself even more bulky than ever. It's taking fighting type moves like a pro, and dishing out moves just as well. Even at a type disadvantage, Snorlax is a beast, and in the end, defeats Gallade. With that, Ash has earned his first print, the Castle Print.
Alright! I got the Castle Print!
I hope you enjoyed this battle. I tried to make it similar to Ash vs Noland in that it's a strong start to the battle frontier with Ash using one of his Kanto aces, this time Snorlax instead of Charizard. While Snorlax didn't beat a legendary, it did beat a fighting type Pokemon, and it was a beast while doing so. I also wanted to give some shine to Kingler and Muck, as they never did anything at the Sinnoh League, and they deserve some more screen time. So here's some underrated Kanto Pokemon getting the battles they deserve. Next up, Ash is at the Battle Arcade. He sends out the 3 Pokemon he brought with him, being Corphish, Totodile, and Gible. He thought these 3 Pokemon would enjoy playing with the arcade machines due to their personalities, so brought the 3 of them along. As they play the arcade games, they all meet Dahlia, who introduces herself and the rules of the facility. There are 14 battles before the battle against the Frontier Brain. Ash may only use the same 3 Pokemon in all of the battles, but is allowed to heal in between. Before each battle, they must use this arcade machine to select a random effect from the battle. Maybe it's a weather condition or something crazy, like giving Pokemon items, or who knows, it could be literally anything. So basically Ash starts his challenge and it starts cutting between different battles with different random effects, and we stop on one battle where it is raining and Ash's Corphish is defeating a Medicham before Ash decides to swap in his Totodile. Now it's Totodile versus a Blaziken, where Totodile uses the power of the rain to boost the power of its water type moves, defeating the Blaziken and then evolving into Croconaw in the process. After that, it's the battle against Dahlia, and they spin the arcade roulette thing, and it lands on a space that gives all of Dahlia's Pokemon citrus berries, which is going to be a problem for Ash, as he will not have any form of healing, but Dahlia will. The battle starts off with Ash's Gible versus Dahlia's Togekiss, and keep in mind that this is Gen 4 before Togekiss became a Fairy type, so Gible is able to battle it using its Dragon Pulse attack to knock down Togekiss, and then jumps on top of Togekiss to bite it while it's flying around, resulting in the win. After that, it's Corphish versus Ludicolo, where Corphish is doing some good damage before Ludicolo takes out Teeter Dance, which very much confuses Corphish, making it have to dance along, making it harder for it to attack. Ludicolo then heals with its Citrus Berry, and it's all over for Corphish. Next up, and finally, it is Ash's Croconaw versus Dahlia's Dusknoir, and Dusknoir has its Citrus Berries stored inside of the mouth on its chest, so when it opens up its mouth to grab the berry to heal, Ash has Croconaw use Water Gun into the mouth to keep the mouth open before it runs into the mouth to grab the Citrus Berry itself and eat it. Croconaw then uses its super effective bite and is able to defeat Dusknoir, giving Ash the win.
Alright! I got the arcade print!
Next up, Ash is on his way to the Battle Factory and is trying to figure out what Pokemon to use, so he looks into his party and his reserves, and it seems like Quilava is extra fired up, so he decides to have Quilava tag along so the two of them can take on the Battle Factory. However, once he enters, Thornton reveals that in the Battle Factory, everyone uses rental Pokemon, so Ash will not be able to use Quilava in order to take the win. Quilava is saddened by this, but Ash says he'll do whatever it takes to defeat the Battle Factory and get the factory print, so he promises to use Quilava in his next battle and enters into the Battle Factory. Ash spends some time battling some random trainers with some rental Pokemon, swapping around his team, and going through all of the battles required in the factory, eventually getting to Factory Head Thornton. The battle starts and Ash ends up sending out a Lapras, and Thornton sends out a Ninetales. Lapras is having a hard time battling on land, but Ash remembers his battles with his previous Lapras and he has it use Ice Beam onto the ground to make the battlefield better for it. Although Ninetales is able to melt the ice, so it's not in its favor for too long. However, as it keeps using Ice Beam, it's able to get a good footing and takes out the Ninetales. Ash ends up sending out a Butterfree next, and Thornton and Ambipom, and Ash is able to use moves like Sunspore and Sleep Powder and is pretty easily able to take down Ambipom. Finally, Ash sends out a Pidgeot, and Thornton sends out an Altaria. They take to the skies and ensues a sky battle. Finally, a giant clash happens between Pidgeot's Brave Bird and Altaria's Sky Attack, and it ends in a tie. However, Ash still wins the battle as he has 2 Pokemon left remaining that hadn't fainted.
Alright! I got the facility print!
Now it's time for the Battle Dome, where Ash makes sure to bring his Quilava with him since he's actually allowed to use his own Pokemon now and Quilava was so fired up. He meets up with Argenta and she explains the rules of the facility. He has to win 14 battles in a row using only one Pokemon, of course being his Quilava. However, to his benefit, he's allowed to choose the type of Pokemon he wants to fight, so he can choose a type of Pokemon that his Quilava is good against. Ash and Quilava decide to fight the Steel type and start off by fighting some non-evolved Steel types, moving on to some harder opponents. We get to see some of these battles, but some are skipped off screen, including some of the last battles, and eventually he's up against Hallmatron Argenta for his final battle. Argenta sends out her Pokemon, and then it's Ash's turn to send out his. He grabs his Pokeball and throws it out.
I choose you! Typhlosion!
That's right, after battling 14 opponents in a row, Ash's Quilava evolved into Typhlosion off-screen before the battle against Argenta. It's Typhlosion versus Steelix, and this is a great battle that you're not going to want to miss. Ash's Fire-type attacks are super effective against Steelix's Steel-type attacks, like they have been throughout this entire challenge, but this time, Argenta has a Ground-type Pokemon as well, since Steelix is dual-typed, so it's super effective against Typhlosion as well. Both of them have super effective moves. It's a tough battle. Typhlosion does its best, showcasing new moves like Flare Blitz and Fire Punch. It's a tough battle, with Iron Tails colliding with Flare Blitzes. And in the end, Ash and Typhlosion are victorious.
Alright! I got the Hall Print!
I do wonder what the response will be to me having Typhlosion evolve off-screen. I want it to be a cool surprise, kinda like Iris's Haxorus, but let me know if you thought that was a good idea in the comments or not, because I'm sure it might be a little controversial. Anyway, it's on to the final Frontier print. Ash, Dawn, and Brock are on their way to the battle tower, and when they're almost there, they end up meeting up with Barry, who's going because he wants to watch his dad battle some challengers for some inspiration. So Barry will be joining our group until Ash gets the print. When they get there, they learn the rules, and it is a simple, all-out test of how much you can battle. 21 battles in a row while rotating Ash's team, and then he can fight Palmer. Ash is ready to go and starts rotating through his Pokemon and battling as many trainers as he can, until eventually he reaches the top to fight Palmer.
You've made it all the way to the final battle of the final facility. But that means the challenge will be the hardest yet. Let's win this, Dragonite!
Ash is ready for the challenge with one of his strongest Sinnoh Pokemon, sending out Gliscor with its brand new move, Ice Fang, super effective against the Dragon type. They take to the skies for an aerial battle, ice moves clashing with one another, and eventually, Gliscor succumbs to a super effective Ice Beam. Ash recalls it and gets ready for his next Pokemon. Next up, it's Buizel, one of Ash's other super strong Sinnoh Pokemon. Ash even starting a strategy to use Rain Dance to activate Swift Swim, and right off the bat, Buizel rushes in and lands a super effective Ice Punch, really hurting Dragonite, but it's not down yet. The battle continues, both Pokemon giving it their all, and in the end, after another Ice Punch, Dragonite is down. Palmer sends out Rhyperior, and Buizel is happy because it has the type advantage, although its rain has run out. It fires off water pulses and is doing some good damage, but Rhyperior is fighting back, and with some strong moves, Buizel is defeated pretty fast. Torterra comes out. The grass type is on the scene and is ready to defeat Rhyperior once and for all. It powers up by eating multiple energy balls, working as hard as it can, mastering all of its grass type moves. The two ferocious ground type Pokemon are going at it, neither moving an inch, and in the end, Rhyperior is down. But that's not it, as Milotic comes out. Torterra has the type advantage with its grass type and does some good damage, although it's really defeated by Rhyperior. Milotic keeps going strong, and in the end, Torterra takes another L. Ash is disappointed by the loss, but he isn't too upset. He respects Palmer and says he's coming back for a rematch as soon as possible, saying he'll train up his Pokemon as much as he can. Palmer agrees, saying he'll also be training up his team and making sure it's as strong as possible before the next battle. Ash leaves and gets ready for some more training. Ash spent some time training his entire team up, every single Pokemon on his team, because all of them are going to be extremely useful for climbing the tower. All of his Pokemon are showing improvement, and he's ready for a rematch, which is when Barry comes over and asks if they can have a practice battle to prove that Ash is ready. This battle won't be a 3v3, but rather 3 1v1s. That's how Ash and Barry's first battle was, so consider this a bit of an homage. Anyway, let's get right into the match. First up, it's Bayleef versus Staraptor. Barry has kind of a score to settle with Bayleef since it ran him over during the Sinnoh League, but Bayleef isn't ready to lose either. It goes all out working with Ash, mastering the move Return for some super damage because of all of its affection. And in the end, Staraptor is down. Now it's time for Gliscor versus Roserade. These two have battled before and that ended in a tie, so it's time for a rematch. This is where Gliscor is going to get its redemption after its fall to Palmer's Dragonite previously, because it takes the win here. Finally, it's Gible versus Empoleon. This is another rematch, and Gible has a lot to prove after it lost to Empoleon pretty badly their first battle. Gible gives its all and is truly one of Ash's strongest Pokemon here, as it's able to take down Barry's ace. With that, Ash is fully confident that he's ready for his rematch against Palmer. He's rocking his best team yet, and has prepared a perfect strategy to defeat Palmer, bringing along some of his strongest Pokemon from all of his travels. So let's get right into it. Ash re-enters the battle tower and battles a ton of trainers as he works his way up to the top. His strategy this time is to bring some of his all-time most powerful Pokemon for an all-out duel against Palmer, but Palmer won't be holding back either. So let's start the battle.
So you've made it back for your rematch. Sorry to say that your fate will remain the same as our previous battles. Show me what you've got!
Palmer sends out Dragonite again, and this time Ash sends out Sceptile, and it reveals a brand new move it learned, being Dragon Claw, for some super effective damage. The two Pokemon trade hits back to back, Sceptile's speediness being hard for Dragonite to counter. But Dragonite does have flying type moves which are also super effective. It's a close battle, but in the end Sceptile's defeated by a Hurricane. I know it's sad to see Sceptile go out, but this is kind of just a way to scale how strong Palmer is. The same thing happened in the Brendan battle with Charizard taking an L early on. So don't consider this being Sceptile being weak, he's actually very strong here. But Palmer's Dragonite is just a little stronger. But just because Sceptile's down does not mean Ash is out of the count, as he sends in Infernape, which is raring to go. It starts using Sky Uppercut, Flare Blitz, and all of its moves, and pretty soon it ends up defeating Dragonite. Palmer brings out Milotic, and its slippery, snake-like body is pretty hard for Infernape to battle, not to mention the type disadvantage. However, Infernape is not willing to go out, and it activates its Blaze ability to become super powerful. The two Pokemon trade a ton of attacks, and in the end it's a tie. Ash sends out Pikachu and is ready to win, but Palmer has a big surprise in store for Ash. He wasn't lying that he would be training, because between their battles, Palmer went to the Snowpoint Temple and caught Regigigas. That's right, it's Pikachu versus the legendary Titan. This is gonna be rough. Pikachu is pushed to its absolute limit here. I'm just gonna be ignoring the slow start ability because it's BS. Pikachu is fighting a full-powered Regigigas straight from the start, but its speed is its main weapon against this slow and bulky Pokemon. It's using Volt Tackle after Volt Tackle, and when Regigigas hits it, it does damage, but static activates, giving Ash another advantage. After a tough battle, Pikachu uses the same Iron Tail and Volt Tackle strategy from the league against Tobias and lands a giant finishing blow. Regigigas is down, and Ash has defeated the Sinnoh Battle Frontier.
Alright! I got the Tower Prince!
And that's the video. I am so happy with how this turned out, especially the final Palmer battle. I tried to make some callbacks to AG by having 3 Palmer battles in total, being the one from actual TP, his loss here, and then the actual battle. And I thought it was great to have 3 generations of aces all fighting alongside each other. Make sure to tell me in the comments what you think of this video and if you really liked it, because if this video gets enough comments and likes, I will totally make more of these where Ash takes on the Battle Maison or Battle Subway, Battle Tree, you name it. I think those would be super fun to make. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.